Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, Battlefield 2042 gives us some new stuff after they said they're not doing that? Okay, sure. And it isn't a lot of new stuff. In fact, there isn't really anything new. It's just they're moving the M1 Garand from Portal over to the base game, so you can use it just when you play. But it's also having to do with the Halloween event. This Halloween event has a little more to it than meets the eye, and surprisingly, it's had a lot of effort put into it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, and we'll get into that later, but it's more effort than some of the other events they've done before. On top of that, I will also be outlining the update that coincides with the Halloween event as well. I believe it's called Update 8.2.0. So without further ado, this video is going to be pretty jam-packed. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. I also stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders, so hit the follow button on that. And of course, check out my new fragrance YouTube channel. That'll be first link in the description. So the new event in Battlefield 2042 for Halloween is called Battlefield 2042 Circle of Hell, and it actually is pretty interesting, even though I'm probably not going to be a fan of it. And you might say, Enders, how do you know you're not going to be a fan of it? Well, right off the bat, it's hardcore. And not your regular hardcore. They've done a lot to make sure that this is the most hardcore experience that I have ever personally seen in a Battlefield game. In fact, it's so hardcore that it might be so drastically different from other hardcore Battlefield experiences that I might actually end up liking it just for what it is. As with all events, there was a trailer, they're doing an event pass with items, there's no new content, just a bunch of skins and a bunch of things you can unlock for playing the event, and of course there are new store items because this is EA. This new event will be playable on October 29th, and you will be able to play the hardcore mode on Breakthrough, Rush, and Conquest. One of the highlights of this entire event is, of course, the fact that we're getting a rebalanced version of the M1 Garand that will be permanent and featured in the base game, and you can unlock it just by playing this event. The M1 Garand has been entirely redone. Its recoil has been lessened. Its accuracy has been tweaked. It's been placed, of course, in the DMR category in the base game, and even the damage model and the amount of ammunition you can carry has been tweaked for the M1 Garand. And of course, it has 3 scopes: the NIDAR sight, which many of you that played BF5 will be familiar with. It's kind of like a red dot, a 2x, and a 6x scope that are specific to the M1 Garand. So, many of you are probably wondering, what is so different about this hardcore experience? Well, let's just read from Battlefield Bulletin here, who did a fantastic job at summarizing this, because the official Battlefield post is actually a complete disorganized mess, and it's really hard to follow. So, first of all, there's no minimap. They refined squad and inventory widgets. They removed enemy markers on the map. They remixed audio for quote-unquote improved perception, as Battlefield Bulletin puts it. They have reduced health to 60%. They've increased projectile speed. They've adjusted weapon damage according to the weapon class with multipliers. They've tweaked vehicle health and damage output. Friendly fire has been enabled. Vehicle weak point damage has been increased. They have increased the amount of tickets, or as in reinforcements. They have increased objective capture time and objective impact on the game mode. They have restricted weapons based on the class you're playing, and they have completely disabled the ability to tack sprint, and they've disabled the slide feature. So a ton of changes here. This will make the game play completely differently. But even though all that stuff sounds great, it is still quote-unquote hardcore Battlefield, which essentially means no one's going to be moving, and then you die in like 2 shots. It's not the greatest experience. But who knows, maybe all of these changes they have done to the hardcore mode will completely change my mind. Now, moving on to the patch notes that coincide with this event, there are some things here that Battlefield Bulletin does not mention in that post. First of all, in regards to friendly fire, and for people that are worried about people trolling just by team killing, you can only team kill a certain amount of people before the damage you do to your teammates is reflected back to you, which then kills you, and this also applies to vehicles. And in an effort to create a more eerie and quote-unquote immersive atmosphere, every single specialist in Battlefield 2042 will be forced to wear their respective uniforms with a dark color scheme. I'm sure a lot of you that still play Battlefield 2042, all 25 of you, will want this to be applied to the base game as well. Something else that Battlefield Bulletin didn't mention is the fact that they are getting rid of magazines being saved if you reload. So what I mean by that is, let's say you reload with 26 bullets still left in your magazine. If you drop that magazine, those 26 bullets are now gone in this new mode. So when I say they're kicking up the quote-unquote hardcore features, they really are for this mode. It's going to be pretty much the most realistic Battlefield experience that I can remember. Now, moving on to some weapon details in this mode. I mentioned previously that weapons will be restricted to classes, meaning if you're playing Assault, you cannot use a sniper rifle. That is how it used to be in previous Battlefield games, children. And in an effort to try to balance each weapon type based on their class and based on their effectiveness, they have added some damage multipliers to try to increase or decrease the effectiveness. For instance, SMGs do 80% of their original damage in this mode to try to offset the effectiveness of them in CQC in hardcore. But if you take a look at what they did to ARs have seen no changes to their damage. So they're going to be lethal at pretty much every range. Now, in my opinion, this is just clearly unbalanced. Like, obviously, ARs are going to be the strongest weapon class in the game. In fact, I think the Scar can probably two-shot you from almost any range if you land a headshot. So I don't really understand why you would ever use an SMG. But, you know, moving on, LMGs have also no multipliers applied to them, so they're going to be really strong as well. Bolt actions, interestingly enough, also do 80% of their original damage, so they will do less damage than you're used to. They will still probably one-shot kill you in hardcore, in fact, definitely, but it's just interesting to see that. Maybe they won't one-shot you from range, maybe that's why they did that. Aside from those specific changes, when you're scrolling through this really disorganized patch notes section, it's just a lot of miscellaneous stuff that only applies to Battlefield Portal, and it's so confusing that a lot of this stuff, I'm kind of confused as to whether or not it's applying to Portal or just applying to the full game. So I'll go through some of the things that I think probably apply to the full game. The UH-60 minigun damage has been increased, which is the new transport helicopter, from 18 to 20, and the UH-60 minigun damage drop-off now starts at 250 meters instead of 200 meters. Another thing they did to bolster the effectiveness of the new transport helicopter is increase the health regeneration from the repair system. It now heals 25 HP in 5 seconds, as opposed to 10 health in a just brutal 8.6 seconds. So that is pretty much going to cover everything that's coming. New event October 29th, going to be really strange, crazy, hardcore Battlefield mode. We'll see if I like it. I anticipate not liking it just because I traditionally don't enjoy Battlefield hardcore. Not my favorite way to play the game at all. I do think it's cool that they're moving a M1 Garand portal weapon to the base game finally. Probably should have happened a long time ago. And to be honest, even though the content for Battlefield 2042 is canceled, they should absolutely spend more time moving some portal weapons to All Out Warfare, just because why not? It's already in the game. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you guys. If you enjoy the content or find it informative, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you're wondering about how my second interview went, or if you're wondering why I'm speaking about this at all, I am currently interviewing for a job, right? And it went really well. Both interviews have gone really well. I'm kind of just waiting to see what happens now. Like, they're either not going to contact me or they're going to contact me. Like, I've done my part, so I just have to wait. If I do get hired, I will make a video explaining what's going to change about the channel, because obviously if I get hired at another job, I'm going to have to switch a lot of the schedule around. YouTube should remain largely unaffected though. So definitely keep an eye on the channel. Turn notifications on if you're a longtime fan of the channel and care about what happens to it in the event that I do get hired at this other job. I would really appreciate that. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.